On 24 May, on the island of Okinawa, a convoy is traveling to a practice area called Bolo Point to fire the Little John rocket. At the site, members of the battery prepare for the launching. A portable weather vane provides wind data. Final adjustments are made to fire the rocket out over the Pacific. A battery sergeant completes the final sighting, and the rocket is sent on its way. In Grafenwöhr, Germany, men of the 64th Armored Regiment, 3rd Infantry Division, take on ammunition during their annual firing at the Grafenwöhr training area. With the required quotas of 105mm shells and machine gun ammo aboard, the M60 tank moves away from the supply point and out onto the range. Spotters are at their scopes as the M60 fires its 105mm gun from the first position. As other crews await their turn, machine guns are fired at a target moving across the range. When the firing ends, maintenance is performed to bring a long and successful day to a close. While the tanks are firing, Honest John rocket crews train with their equipment under simulated battle conditions. In preparation for an actual firing, a warhead is brought alongside the Honest John and mated to the rocket. This is delicate work which requires continuous training of the crews. Finally, it is completed. The Honest John is moved out from its concealment. It is elevated and adjusted to place it on target. Then the rocket is fired, completing the training exercise. A number of DeLong floating pier barges are being constructed by Japanese contractors at shipyards in Japan. These particular barges are being built on shipways. They are constructed so they may be floated into positions where needed for dock facilities, permanent or temporary. This Type A barge requires 10 steel tube caissons for its 300-foot length. The 150-foot Type B requires only 6 caissons. This DeLong barge inspector has just looked at a watertight compartment. DeLong representatives inspect each pier barge before it leaves the shipyard. Here, a Type B barge is towed by a seagoing tug toward its destination.
I'm Lieutenant Colonel Beecher. I'm the commanding officer of the 538th Engineer Construction Battalion. We're located at Camp Esayones, Thailand. Our base camp is located approximately 45 kilometers south of Korat. In addition to building our camp after we arrived, we built a tank farm, 90,000 barrel installation in the Korat area. Our primary mission is the construction of the 140-kilometer extension to the Bangkok Bypass Road. Shown here on our map in red, it extends from Kabinbari to Korat. Here's our location, Camp Esayones, 45 kilometers south of Korat. The extension road will complete the major link in the land line of communication with the port under development at Sadahid of the Chachoengsao to Kabinbari Bangkok Bypass Road constructed over this past 4-year period by the 809th Engineer Battalion. The road will be constructed in 2 phases. Phase 1 is the construction of a military road. That is, a road capable of carrying military traffic as soon as possible. Phase 2 is the improvement of this road to the standards of the civilian highway. This project is underway at the present time, is approximately 40% complete, and the military road phase of the project is anticipated completion date November 1966.
In Bangkok, the first transportation barge company of the Royal Thai Army assembles for training. Observing are Major Donald P. Malak, U.S. Advisor, and the Transportation Group Commander of the Royal Thai Army. The company of 200 men has 34 barges, which were constructed locally with United States funds. The vessels are single-engine, 48-foot craft and 75-footers with twin screws. The unit receives help under the military aid program, but maintenance of the barges is at Royal Thai Army expense. The company is capable of operations up to a distance of 160 kilometers. The barges can meet ocean-going vessels in the lower river and take on cargo for movement directly upcountry. Since central Thailand is served by a system of rivers and canals, water transportation has great importance. Many sections of the country are reached primarily by water, and this barge company can land troops and supplies in these otherwise inaccessible areas. During this training exercise in the Bangkok area, emphasis is being placed on communications. Since no radios are carried on the barges, signalmen using a modified code must maintain contact between the vessels. Well-trained and competent, the first Royal Transportation Barge Company represents the modern adaptation of an historic means of transportation in this land where waterways are a major key to successful military operations. At Panmunjom, 26 May, the Communist Honor Guard goose steps in preparation for the arrival of Commissar Pak Chung-guk, the chief representative of North Korea. The show is partially for North Korean guided tours visiting the area. Inside, the familiar accusations of neutral zone violations resume. A chart indicates the location of the alleged capture of U.S. weapons. The weapons are displayed outside for South Korean reporters. Many are communist-made, plus a few old U.S. items. Communist agitators attended in unusual numbers. When the U.S. 627th Supply and Services Battalion moved into the fairgrounds in Santo Domingo last June, they found over 400 squatters. The problem of relocating them was given to U.S. Army Staff Sergeant Juan Ocasio of Puerto Rico. He transported some families back to their homes in the interior, but the others had nowhere to go. Ocasio found a vacant coral field nearby. He arranged to bring a few families at a time to this field. The battalion collected scrap lumber, crates, and other materials which were taken to the building site and distributed to the families there. Sergeant Ocasio followed the work closely. At first, any kind of shelter from the weather was erected, even houses of cardboard. The problem was to get someplace to stay until a better shelter could be built. Ocasio spent evenings and weekends planning streets and marking off building lots. Foundations for better houses were often started around the shacks themselves. A year after the project's start, shacks of all types continue to spring up in Ocasionville to meet the demand for immediate housing. Improvements are rapid as materials become available. As each shelter is completed, a family arrives to fill it. Simple as it may be, it is a real improvement over what they have known. Also, many of the people find employment in the battalion warehouses. The more ambitious, with extra effort, are able to make pleasant surroundings from their limited resources. Food provided by CARE and other sources is handled by soldiers who volunteer their free time to do the job. They break down large bags of cornmeal and flour to individual portions in paper sacks. Officers lending a hand include this Army chaplain. Sergeant Ocasio passes out candy to the children. Sergeant Ocasio says, "It is hard to believe that from 123 families, the town has grown to 279 homes. I don't know where they all come from. I spend most of my free time working with these people. I want to leave here knowing that they will have some of the common comforts needed for a happier life." "12,000 feet up in the Andes lies Bolivia's 4-century-old capital, La Paz. In May, a badly needed bridge is being constructed through a municipal community action program known as Acción Comunal. Advisors are a U.S. specialist from a Canal Zone Civil Affairs Detachment and Bolivian Army personnel. Up to 60% financing is furnished by Alliance for Progress. Eroding water runs across the road now. Assisted in preliminary engineering work by Bolivian soldiers, civilian workers have completed one side of the foundation of the 2-lane bridge, and work continues on the remaining half. A community action official calls for weekend volunteers over a loudspeaker. Acción Comunal is limited to La Paz and is engaged in 10 projects. It was begun in 1964, and all projects remain subject to the mayor's approval. It coordinates community councils in self-help programs such as hygiene, housing, and parks. The La Paz Rehabilitation Center receives volunteer assistance from American Army Wives. Established in 1960 for physically handicapped children, the center now includes children crippled by congenital deformities and polio. The therapy room has a whirlpool bath, flexing bar, mirrors and practice steps, and an electrotherapy machine. Vocational training includes weaving and carpentry. The brace shop with equipment given by the World Rehabilitation Fund is run by one man trained in Mexico. A monthly community party is given by U.S. Army wife volunteers. Present is the center's founder and the brace maker, himself a victim of a crippling disease. Along with parties such as these, wives stage sales to raise funds, in addition to money contributed directly, and temporarily adopt some abandoned children to give them extra care. With the help of U.S. military group personnel, the center has placed a number of its children in American homes. Here, a 6-year-old child leaves his last community party and heads for the airport to start a new life in faraway Santa Monica, California.